Artfully and strategically editing the plants that you grow can make a huge difference in your garden. But the problem is being harsh enough to do it. Are you cruel enough to be a gardener? You'll need to gird your loins as we dip into the many ways you should be editing, from pulling stray volunteers to cutting out large limbs. It hurts, but it's worth it. So buckle up, Buttercup. It's time to get vicious out there. This week on The Garden Mixer.
Hey, so in case you're new, I'm Leslie Harris and she is Marianne Wilburn, and we love to talk about gardening. Oh, and have a cocktail. Cheers. Oh, that looks like a G&T.
It so is a G&T, actually. In the glasses that, well, not the mini glasses, I have them all lined up here. Just one. That my mother used to make a G&T for my dad when he'd get home from work. And I saw these glasses all my life, and now I've got them, and they're pretty cool. They're probably from the 50s or the 60s, I imagine. Not that that was in the 50s or the 60s for me. Just saying.
All right, so editing. And I apparently you just got home from a long vacation and you were doing it all day long. Did you have so much fun?
I was. Yes and no. Yes, I was in the garden all day long. No, I did not have so much fun. But yes, when I came away from it, I was really, really excited that I had gotten so much done. And that's where this topic originated, listeners, is in the idea of you've got something that is blooming its head off out there that's a volunteer or maybe something that you planted. It's blooming. It looks great. Maybe it's a great foliage plant, but you've got too much of it and it's too hard to take it out. And you feel like, oh, but I can't, but you must. And so today was a lot of editing. I've just gotten back from being on vacation for the last 2 weeks. And it was just, I came into the garden, Leslie. I actually avoided it for 2 days. I'm going to make another confession.
Nothing to see here. I have no garden.
Right.
I have no 11 acres.
That's right. This is not a criminal confession. This is just a regular confession, like a
Ready?
therapist confession where you say, I came in the dark. I did not go down. Michael told me that he had watered the plants that were sitting there that needed watering. So I'm like, they're fine. I'm not going down there. And then the next evening, I went down there because I just couldn't mentally handle it with my desk work and everything else that I needed to sort out. And when I got down there, it was as bad as I thought it would be in terms of
It was
just
as bad.
It was and it wasn't. Like, this is not the topic of this podcast, obviously, but there is this sort of, you've got to prepare yourself that things are not going to be just as you left them. And so once you
Yes.
get over that hurdle, then you start looking around going, oh, that's pretty good. Oh, dense planting really works. And thank goodness I did that, and I need to do more of it. And it's that type of thing. But because I live in a woodland sort of valley, and I have a very wild style, the garden and the wild, they look like they're coming together a little bit too much. And so you have to be, that's, that's where all the crazy comes from. So anyway, yes, I went down there. I did some serious editing. My big ones were Cleome, which is starting to really take over, and it will. And I took out a lot of Rudbeckia. I think one of the it's like a Herta or Demii. I'm not really sure. It came in a wildflower seed mix, blooming its head off in the compost pile. So I'm thinking with your little garden now, you're not doing as much editing, or are you up on your hillside?
Nowhere near as much. Nowhere near as much. So we're going to tell you, listeners, exactly what to do and some ways to think about it that could help you. But first, before we launch into all of that, oh, and by the way, as always, at the end of the show, you will hear the section called Damn, I Wish I Had Planted That. We have 2 fabulous plants for you. But let's do a little clear up corner, because although we are bordering on perfection at all times, in all facets of our lives, including making cocktails, we do have a few things to clear up. Oh, and most of them belong to you.
What's that supposed to mean?
It's not because I didn't mess up. Well, it's just that I'm looking at this list that we made, and you do most of the talking because you're the better gardener and you care more." And I'm like, "Yeah,
You
yeah,
keep
yeah."
you keep saying that. The first I think is false, the second might be true. And it might not be a good thing, let's just say that. But I'm certainly not the better gardener. I'm a learning. Okay, so let's go right in. Polygonatum, which I think might be polygonatum if we're going by our andropagon.
Not according to MOBOT. Missouri Botanical Database has this little recording, and he says things like polygonatum and not natum, and I don't know why.
Oh,
But
sorry. Well, that's
the
true.
best thing is polygonatum, odoratum, variegatum, Mr. Robotum. I mean, that's better than
I
any
cannot say
pronunciation,
that.
correct, incorrect, or otherwise.
Okay, well, listeners, if you're wondering about botanical names, then that's not what this glare up is about. You can check out our one more sip on that, which should have been last time, right?
Yep.
And that is for our paid subscribers, and it is a short, fun 20-minute episode on one topic. We have a lot of fun. It's fully subscriber sponsored, and you may, if you're in our Substack, on Substack as a free subscriber, you might get a little tease from that. But next time, hit that button, become a paid subscriber, and join this really growing community, which is fantastic. And actually, we have a new
Victim.
we have a new victim. Yes, we do. A victim of great information.
Yeah.
Lauren Edelton. So thank you, Lauren, for becoming a paid subscriber. And we are very happy to have you in the mix. And make sure you keep checking out the chat because we are asking questions there. We want you guys to be part of this podcast and helping us with lots of little things that we asked, new foliage, new plants, et cetera, et cetera. So check that out. All right. Well, back to the polygonatum or the polygonatum or the polygonatum, Mr. Robotum. I wanted to say that both the polygonatum and the canna are fantastic in a vase, and I don't know if people really think about their foliage enough. We did this episode on summer foliage, and one of the prettiest, easiest is that polygonatum that I talked about, the Mr. Robotum. It stays in the vase for a long time, and sometimes when I'm a little short on flowers or time, I will just take 6 or 7 stems of that, especially because I have got so much of it, and just put those into a vase, and they're beautiful because they're variegated and strong and very, very classy, let me say. They're so classy.
So classy. When I was putting together the YouTube edition for that episode, you had supplied some really good photographs of that plant, the polygonatum, and then I was able to just find some, free ones that I'm not gonna get arrested for, and honestly, they were so beautiful. They were on Pixabay where you can just get photos, so I threw in Solomon's seal, and sure enough, some really talented photographers had taken beautiful photographs of that plant. So it is gorgeous. As we mentioned about polygonatum, once you cut that stalk, you don't have any more. And
Mhm.
Marianne has a huge inventory. Leslie just got it for the first time, got it back in my garden. I think I'd given it to my sister 2 years ago. I moved from a huge garden to a tiny garden. So I'm slowly saying to people, "Oh, hey, you remember that thing I gave you?"
I've had a little bit of it back.
I know, and I have literally half a dozen pieces right now, and I'm so excited, but that's all I have, so I won't be cutting those for a vase. Tell me about the canna. Is it just the foliage that's good? The flowers are good too, don't
The
bother?
flowers are okay. Yeah, they're okay in a vase. I never think about putting them in a vase because they're so vulgar. That's for you, Erin Shannon. Um,
They're
they
sort of s
are very in your face, so
uh,
I don't put them in the vase. But I love a Bengal tiger leaf, just one simple leaf behind a whole bunch of other stuff. It's just fun. Or, you could use a darker one as well.
doesn't it remind you of that variegated, ginger that grows down in Florida? And sometimes I would buy it for containers. Do you know which one I'm
Oh,
talking about?
Alpinia, Zarumba,
Yeah,
the shell
I
ginger.
think so, yeah, that's a
Yeah, and
cool
actually that
plant.
does really well in a vase as well, and definitely for a few days. So I've got some of that outside my door. But just like your polygonatum, gonatum, robotum,
Solomon seal.
Solomon seal, just like yours, I don't have tons of it, and it's in a very. I mean, it's big in its container, but if I started chip chopping on that,
No
I'd
good.
be sad. but I have so much canna.
So you got to chip chop on that. With the ginger, is that something that you're going to teach us in a few episodes of how to overwinter?
I am. I am
Good.
going we're gonna
Okay.
talk about, yeah, putting those best friends into cold, dark storage that you don't have to do anything with over the winter pretty much. So yes, that's a one more sip in the future, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a one more sip, aiming at most gardeners for the timing of, "Oh, hey, maybe I can keep this plant and not buy it again next spring."
Yeah, but the moral of this clear up corner was use your foliage, hosta leaves. Grab a few hosta leaves. You have no
Oh,
idea
yeah.
how beautiful 5 large hosta leaves are in a large, like, tulip forcing vase, big vase. They're sort of at a cocky little angle sitting there, and they look so fresh. And yeah, use your foliage in those vases, especially when you don't have any flowers or you just don't feel like picking those beautiful flowers. All right, moving swiftly on. Rotlaub does indeed mean red leaf
Red leaf.
in German, not Dutch. So there you go. And that is the name of the Podophyllum regersea that I grow that really is. I've got one big, very red leaf right now. It's also a little bit ragged because I haven't been here tending to it as it should be tended to. But I did find out as I was looking this up that I basically need to cut that thing. I need to dig the entire thing, cut it into tiny little sections, and sell it at $27, $28 a pop for a little 4-inch pop because that thing's expensive now. I had no idea, and I have a lot of it. So look, yeah, look into that later, listeners. Marianne's doing her little on the side nursery. So Regersea is actually Rogers flower. I think we asked, is it Rogers flower? But yes, that's the common name is Rogers
Yeah.
flower, and it's named after an admiral, John Rogers, who commanded an expedition in the late 19th century out into the Pacific. And he wasn't really a flowers guy. He was just taking this expedition to go sort of map and chart and that sort of thing. There are flowers that are named just after important people who might have had a hand in a region or something. Unlike like Mandeville, who Mandevilla or Mandaha, I just did it. Mandevilla is named after he was a diplomat and he was a gardener. But
And,
yeah,
well, would
well,
you call him, I mean, I doubt he got his hands in the soil too much. I mean, more of a botanist? He was out looking for these things?
he wasn't a botanist. He was an admiral in the Navy. Although at the time, I don't think he was an admiral yet.
So it just depends on well, the Banksia rose, right? Was that not Joseph Banks, for example?
I think. I don't know, actually. I'd have to go look that one up. I'm not really usually that up on them unless they are plants that I'm using all the time, and I can't grow Banksia rose. So thanks for rubbing lemon in that wound, Leslie.
I haven't even
It's
tried,
just
so
well, you should grow it.
is it a zonal thing?
Yeah, it's just right on the edge of its hardiness here,
Oh,
and I
okay.
don't actually think it would make it through a winter down in this valley. I have a friend who's up on the top of a hill, um, and he can grow it, but he has lost it, and it's on a south-facing wall against a brick house, and he has still lost it after 10 years or something, so I don't
Isn't
like
it
to play too much with that.
prodigiously large? Isn't it
Oh, it's
ridiculously
huge.
big? Yeah, yeah.
It
I'm
goes
not
up
doing
into
that.
trees. I mean, it's a fantastic
Yellow flowers, right?
yellow flowers, thornless stems,
Mhm.
beautiful
That
plant, and I envy all of you who can grow it. And if you can grow it, you should grow it. So there. All right. What's our last one?
our last one I get to read because even though you did all the research, I'll just say it because it's one sentence. We were talking about bananas and the leaf stalk of it. You said, "Is that a petiole?" And then you said, "I think that's a petiole." And you were right. It's a petiole. Okay. Uh,
That was the research that I was doing. That sounded like really amazing, like I was really researching.
oh,
And she
I
came
think you
back
put
with, it's
10,
a
15
petiole.
seconds into
Wow,
that.
Marianne.
Yeah.
Jeez. Okay.
All right. Well, so let's talk about editing. And I think Cleome is such an amazing one to start with because they can become so big. One way to edit Cleome, by the way, I don't know if you do this, but the original main stalk of it becomes quite hairy and ugly looking. And then the lower shoots are better looking to my eye. So I would always just say, off with your head and take the main big chunky one. and leave the other ones which were more delicate. But removing some of the actual plants is a good idea. I'm curious, so you gardened all day. Do you measure how much you took away in wheelbarrows, trucks? Like how much stuff did you
Backs of
take
golf
away?
carts. Oh, backs of golf
How many?
cart.
How many?
Oh, how many times back and forth? 7, 8.
I
I
mean,
but
that
but,
is
to be fair, I also did the summer pruning of the wisteria today. So
oh, okay.
that got a pretty large haircut, and it's a little late. It's a little later than I would have wanted to do it. I really wish I'd done it 2 weeks ago, but in the scheme of things, I
You
don't
weren't
think it
there.
matters. I was not here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So gotta do
The
what you gotta
time
do.
to do a thing is when you can do it. So
Mhm.
said Christopher Lloyd. And that's my story. I'm sticking to it. So I have a golf cart. We bought this little used golf cart. Oh gosh, I think almost 7 or 8 years ago, and it was the best purchase I have ever made in terms of we're on a large property here. We're on 10 acres and almost 11 acres, and I would say that the garden, the cultivated areas are probably about 2 acres, but we still have to manage other parts of the property. And that golf cart, this little poor little, what was it? Like it was about $2,500, I think. It is like having a helper. It's like having a helper all the time. I have covered it in so much detritus, bush. I have like huge viburnum limbs that are sitting on the top of it. I'm holding on as I'm driving over to the hugelkultur. It's an incredible thing. So if you can't afford to if you got property and you can't afford to get a tractor and you're sort of saving your pennies for a tractor, see if you can get a used golf cart and you will not look back because I
Is
I cannot say how wonderful it's been.
electric or gas?
It's gas. I got gas because, well, that was what the used guy had. And also I was concerned because we have so much uneven space here. There's a lot of uneven ground, and I didn't know if the electric could handle it. It turns out it probably could have, but the gas one is what we have, and it doesn't go through very much, and it's fabulous. I absolutely adore it, and gets serviced like every couple of years or every 2 or 3 years, and I love
It
it.
sounds very cool. I think it's cool that you can use that in my property of 2 acres. Of course, I used a wheelbarrow, and it was very strange moving here 2 years ago and saying, "I do not need a wheelbarrow," and I have 2 trugs, 11-gallon trugs. It's just so weird, and when one gets full,
Yeah.
I put it in my tiny little compost pile. But no matter what the scale is, it's very satisfying to come back daunting, yes, after 2 weeks away, but all of a sudden you make real progress. Whereas a week later, you're just sort of you can't really see what you've done. You've maybe done important things, but I love it when, there's an example. I moved away to Australia for a year, and we rented the house out, and the woman who lived there, she lived with her 2 children, and I know that she had a lawn service come in because she was not a lawnmower type of lady, and maybe she had a gardener, but I had a front garden on a fairly busy street, and acquaintances who didn't know that I was back said, "Oh, I knew when you got back," because because immediately you could see where the garden was, and I remember doing and that was those were wheelbarrow days, and I think I remember doing, like, 4 wheelbarrow runs in the first half hour. I mean, the weeds were
Oh, right, right.
hip high. It was incredibly satisfying.
So a question for you. This is going back to that sort of psychological thing when you come back to your garden. Do you just sort of go, "All right, I got to get to this," and yes, they're going to be high, or do you sit there, hitting yourself with a cat of nine tails, like the weeds are high, how am I ever going to get through it? I mean, do you just put your head down and get started?
I think I do.
I'm just thinking your personality is so bright and cheerful that I'm walking around with this Chopin's funeral march down there going, "What did I do?
Why am I even a gardener?
Why am I a
Yes,
gardener?"
that is one of the difference between us. There are several. Thank God we both like alcohol. Um,
It's true.
but the
It
I
helps a
think we
lot.
should do a topic on it because, we're both going away and we've been away. You were just away for 2 and
Yeah.
a half weeks. The garden your size, that's huge. I was away for 6 weeks, and that,
Yeah, it's
that made a difference. So, I feel like, that's a great topic to address in terms of, feeling overwhelmed. But right now we're talking to the people who maybe have been away, maybe haven't, but editing needs to be done. So the annuals that have self-sown, let's just talk about annuals for a minute because yeah, the self-seeders like clammy, did you really want them in the middle of your path or hitting you as you walk by? No. So you got to do something about that. But then there are the things that are in containers that are just leggy and yucky. When I ran my gardening business, ding dong, we should like say every time I start a sentence that
I
way, we
should, like,
should
have a bell. I
yeah,
should
like,
just ring the bell.
"Ding,
I
ran my
know.
gardening
Or when
business."
we say, at Great Dixter, ding, 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 ding. Yeah, enough, we're bored.
Enough of that. Sorry, but when I instructed gardeners to garden for me, for my clients, the idea was if most of our clients were every 2 week, we would go there, and so they would groom the containers, and that means they're grooming mostly annuals, mostly flowers, lots of, foliage plants too. And for example, for petunias or lantana, calibrachoa, lobelia, the basic rule of thumb was take away 25% of that plant every 2 weeks, just 25% of it, and do it so that the client doesn't really see what you've done unless they're about to be away for 2 weeks or they're not coming home for another 2 weeks, in which case hack it back because 'cause they'll come back to fresh foliage. But all annuals and plants that are actual perennials, such as the, begonias that I hacked back a couple of days ago, yes, they are perennials in tropical zones, but I treat them as annuals. They look tatty at this time of year. So go
Mhm.
ahead and get brutal with them, and they're gonna reward you in fall with some fresh growth, right?
But, yeah, that's sort of the debrowning part of
Mhm.
this, I think. I'm thinking and if we categorize these different types of editing that you have, we have the volunteer editing, we'll go into a little bit more detail. We have the cutting back, which is the grooming and all of that. The limbing up, a lot of times we just think, "Oh, I'm pruning a tree," and then it stays like that, and that's not how it is. It can throw down this weird limb that goes right on top of something that you're doing, and you think, "Oh, but it's a limb and I should leave it," or like a Chamaecyparis, I was just, trimming that back on that had gone on top of a begonia, and it's ruining the show there, and it doesn't need to be there, and that's editing. I mean, any any writer will tell you that editing is brutal. It's butchery. It's it's hard, but if you have a good editor, it tightens your voice, and so that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to tighten the voice of the garden and make it just shine. And it seems counterintuitive that if you've got all these beautiful flowers, a garden is about flowers, so let them bloom. But when you are selectively pulling some here, some there, doing this sort of what Fergus Garrett calls high-low density in planting, but doing that as you're pulling out some of those, you're going to have a better result. And I think with volunteers, just to start with those, you're looking at this at least twice. You're doing it in the early part of the season, maybe
Yep.
even as early as the fall before if you're in a warmer climate, but definitely in the spring when everything is dead and you're so, oh my goodness, the little larkspur coming through and look at all those poppies and I'm so happy and all that verbascum. But if you've been at this show for a while, not our show, but but if you've been in gardening long enough, you've got to get it in your head that that verbascum is not that tiny little 4-inch rosette. It is going to become an 18-inch rosette, which will smother everything around it. So if you're cool with that, great, because that's where you want it. But you probably don't need 5 in that group. You might
Mhm.
want 3, maybe, but maybe you just need 1. And that's where you're making those choices with like larkspur, poppies. I had a friend who could never grow poppies. And so when I would tell her I'm editing poppies, she would get so annoyed with me.
Is
You
it
grow
me?
opium
Because
poppies,
this
don't you? No,
is
it was
no, I cannot grow poppies. I cannot do it. They do not want to play
when are you throwing the seed? In the
on the
fall?
snow, before the snow, I mean, I basically throw them every day. Nothing ever happens.
Do you know what they look like as seedlings?
Then, yeah, I mean, I'm not out there weeding. Shouldn't they sort of emerge as plants in March or something?
Well, yeah, I get these little seeds have wisdom beyond their years, and they know where they wanna be, usually.
They don't wanna be in
Um,
Leslie Harris's garden.
I feel like I should have come and thrown some poppy seed for you. This the
Yeah,
last time I
maybe
was
if
there, like
you threw
Marianne's
them
ghost
in Leslie
puppy, she
Harris's garden. Yeah, that's a great idea.
I can't believe
Okay.
that they wouldn't take purchase up on your hillside. I feel like you need to try again. You need
I've
to
never
sow
tried
again.
there. So, it's so funny to be talking about adding more things when we're talking about editing. You can
True.
be in either situation, but let's just stick to the editing right now. But you're right, to do it when you see them coming, I used to see a million Cleamies in my gravel path, and I'm like, "Oh, I can't wait, I can't wait." They're an inch away from each other, so they're not gonna survive anyway. So you can pluck out the 5 biggest and best, and you can put them where you want to, and you can scuffle hoe the rest. Oh, by the way, we've used the term scuffle hoe a couple of times on the show, and we never talked about it on our tools episode.
Did we not?
I don't think so, and it's a great tool. It's like a
Stirrup
stirrup
hoe.
hoe. Yeah, and
Mhm.
so you're just scraping, and you're basically cutting these poor beggars off at their knees, and then leaving their little carcasses to dry in the sun. Ugh.
I think it's one of my very favorite tools. It's definitely up there, desert island. You know, if I only had a few and I had a garden that I had to tend on the desert island, because once more my ambition got beyond my ability.
You're gonna need it twice as much and a rock rake once you get those gravel paths put in.
I
But
know.
you wanna keep every single one, and no, don't do that. And then as they get bigger and you begin to see I think going away and coming back actually is a perfect, 40,000-foot view, like, how does my garden look? Up close, it's not gonna look good because you do have editing to do, but you can step back and see exactly what you might wanna edit, right?
Yeah, that's a really I hadn't really thought about that before, but that does give you a terrific perspective. It's like when you come back home after a long time gone and you can actually finally really assess what your house smells like, right? Because you just are not used.
Oh, remember when you walked into grandmother's house? I am grandmother. Oh my god. What am
Yeah,
I
it's sort
gonna
of like,
do?
"Oh, I thought it smelled of
Ah,
books and yeah,
ah,
instead it smells like
smells of
compost
old
pile and yeah."
people.
And dogs and yeah, so it's a bit that's a really good point, Les. You're coming back to the garden and going, "Oh, that's a lot of rudbeckia. I can't really see anything else." Instead of sort of growing with the rudbeckia, and I've seen the rudbeckia since early, and, "Oh, you're getting bigger," and, "Oh, I don't wanna cut you down." So, yeah, go away for a little while, come back, and then you'll do some damage. But we're butchering in order to get some voice.
Right, and it's so funny because the both things apply. The view from far away will really help you, but you gotta get on your hands and knees because I have lost cute little plants that I sort of forgot about, and some aggressive thug comes and takes over, and if you don't catch that in time, say goodbye to your cute little plant.
Yeah, that's a good point. You're editing for the survival of other plants around it too. Yeah,
Yeah.
and you definitely got to hit it again in June as these things are starting to get up because as they open up and they start to bloom, you may not want all that bloom. You may realize, no, that really did fill that space, and I can easily take a few here and there, and then it's just touches, little punches of color rather than color. So
Rude
editing
Becky, yeah.
on the volunteers. And the cutting back editing, you know, you do have to be a little bit more careful if you're dealing with evergreens because what makes sense when you are cutting a limb of Chamaecyparis that's hanging over a summertime pot might not look as great in the winter when you're looking at
Mhm.
the form of that Chamaecyparis. So you do need to be careful in there. And I think reaching in with your secateurs and sort of creating texture by reaching in and cutting deep in rather than just chopping something off is going to make a big difference to that. But don't be afraid to still be shaping your plants as they're growing. And as long as you're paying attention to the bloom that's being might be being set for next year, and you've got that in your head, and you're not just like, "Well, now I'm going to prune the hell out of this thing." I think that's a good idea.
I do too. One other point with that is you're shaping something, for example, a boxwood ball. I have one sitting out front, and I took the shears and I got it back to a ball because it was, I don't know what it was, but it wasn't a ball. It was an alien, basically. Made it into a ball again, but I didn't stop there. The reaching in thing is good to provide air to that plant. To many
Yeah.
evergreens, when a plant is cut on the outside, it'll grow on the outside and it won't do much on the inside. And it would love some interior growth for strength. And so reaching in and just making the outside growth not so dense is another good way to edit.
That's what I was doing with my wisteria today. So, yes, it's a summer prune. Yes, we're cutting back hard. to I mean, saying hard, but, all those tendrils are getting cut back, and we're shocking that plant
Oh,
so
yeah.
that it starts to make buds, and then we're gonna come back in January, February, and prune to those buds. But right now, I'm just shocking the hell out of it, and let me tell you, I shocked it today. But one of the other things that I did besides just pulling it back to a manageable size was also going under the pergola and looking up and creating pockets of sun to be able to
Oh,
come
yeah.
down in. And, I don't just want this big glommy mess on the top of the pergola. I want some prettiness. I want some, I don't know, some curve and some openness and yeah. So that's what
Eh,
I was doing today was that editing. Like I can cut this all back and it can just be a big blob up there, or I can make little windows. That's editing.
use your creativity. I'm curious, as you were looking up, were you tempted to just lie down on the floor and look up and rest and possibly take a short nap?
The heat stroke was extreme at that point, and I was telling you, I love my orchard ladder. That has made that job so much
Yeah.
better.
Oh, I bet.
'Cause it's so I'm not sitting there, "Am I balancing okay?" It's just so sturdy, it's so quick, to set up, and it's easy. And I'm lucky, under that pergola, I grow a lot of carex, which doesn't care what the hell you do to it, so I'm standing on it, I'm dragging the ladder over it, and we're just fine. So, no, I did not wanna lay down until I got home, but or back up to the house, and I did, but I didn't.
Going back to the getting down on your hands and knees and seeing what needs to not be, covered up by some other bigger plant. I had this beautiful tomato today that a friend, one of Jeff's golf buddies, was growing tomatoes, and he delivered some to us, and it was one of those huge, I don't know what variety it is, but it's almost pink. So I'm like, "That is what I'm having for lunch," and I chopped up some bread, and I got, a little cheese out, and it was just this huge bowl of tomato, and then I realized that did I not just, have some of that supermarket basil that had some roots, and I threw it in the ground? Let me go do, 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 do. So I go outside, and it's there, and it was enough to add to my lunch, but I realized that there was a leaf of what was it was a hyacinth bean, and those leaves can get pretty big, and some other thing was literally blocking this minuscule basil, so I pinched,
Ah.
like, just this tiny little plant wants a little bit more sun. Sometimes it's just down to that. Just give this guy some space and sun, and he'll do better so I can have another salad next week.
Yeah, and you're not doing anything to that hyacinth bean, it's not
I
hurting
know,
it,
I know.
there's a there's a lot of growth to go around on that,
Oh,
so
yeah, 20 feet worth.
yeah, so be completely okay. So don't be afraid to do that. Those little think of yourself as an artist with a brush in your hand. It just happens to be a pair of pruners. And you're sitting there just brushing with that and you're just playing with it to do those sort of artful editing. So you had on our list dispersal editing. So tell me what that is all about.
Well, I mean, I think it comes into play with your, overabundance, superabundance of Rudbeckia. When you just have something that's way too much. In the case of the Cleome, and I did have that as way too much, I'm just gonna edit because that's an annual, a true annual. If it's a perennial, and don't we all, even though we're like, so many plants, we all have bare spots someplace, or I need a little pop of color, or let's see if that grows here. It might be a little bit shady, but let's give it a go. So just taking away the big chunks, and in general, listeners, because you all garden and you're probably good garden designers, you're probably making things that are good to look at. Big chunks of plants, big groups of plants are very pleasing to the eye, and yet repetition is also. So, although it's too early in the season for us, we're recording this in very early August, it'll come out in late August. We've had a heck of a summer, and I don't know if it's the time to say, "And now I will divide my perennials." Probably not. But if you can just at least make a note of, "I wanna try some of this plant, which is doing so well and taking over a little bit, and let me try it over here." So that's sort of what I meant by dispersal.
Okay, and there another way of thinking of dispersal is in the early spring when you're pulling out all of those like blue plurum or some of the maybe verbascum, although they do tend to have a bit of a taproot. Those easy ones,
Mhm.
larkspur maybe. setting them so that you can go and plant them somewhere else. They have germinated for you if you're quick. If you get them up and then you move them, you can have them somewhere else, those little tiny baby seedlings, and keep them watered. Not all of them
Mhm.
are going to work, but a good amount of them will.
Yep.
Depending on what they are. Poppies don't love it. They tend to be a bit stunted, and then they go to seed really quick, too young. But I often replant Blue Plurum, which because I have so much of that. I don't tend to do it with clammy because it's freaking everywhere. So it's just about
So you
pulling it
don't
out.
need
But
to.
so that I suppose that would be dispersal editing too,
I suppose
in a
so.
way.
Pansies
Yeah.
used to be really abundant on my I would grow them along the side of my gravel path, and so then they would self-sow in the gravel path, and I'm like, "Well, I'm gonna want that someplace else," and, there's so many larkspur did that for me. You know, the one that I really don't feel like I need to edit because it's so airy and delightful is the Verbena bonariensis.
Yes, I was gonna say, I bet you I know exactly which one you're gonna say.
I mean, growing in a mass, it's still not a mass. It's just so it's lithe and lovely.
Yeah, and it doesn't take up too much
Oh,
space.
no, it takes up so little space, but I will edit it because I'm like, "Okay, it's not like I have too much here, it's just that I want more over there." So I will do that in spring.
Right. I tried a new verbena last year, a cultivar called Vanity, which was a little bit shorter than the
Oh,
tall one
nice.
that I grow, and I really liked that. I liked it a lot. It's an AAS winner, and I mean, I like and grow both. And the other cool thing about Verbena bonariensis, besides the fact that it's one of those see-through plants, is that it doesn't really take up a lot of smothering real estate at ground level. So
Mm-mm.
you're going to be able to have bulbs around it. The bulbs probably won't hurt it. It's pretty rugged, it's pretty strong. And it's in turn not going to do too much damage. And it also really takes to being cut back if you've got floppy stems, if something went over the top of it, and then you can cut those back and it'll continue to put up new growth and new blooms. It's a fabulous plant. I currently have too much of it in one of the beds in my vegetable garden, but that's okay because I'm going to use them somewhere else. So there you go. Some dispersal editing will be happening there.
Yeah.
What about deep browning? This is one of my favorite things to do is to deep brown.
Well, that's what I did with those cute little annual, technically perennial, the begonias, semperflorens. So they were literally brown. They were baking in the sun. I don't think I put them in the right spot, and the flowers were brown. Everything was brown. So I just took them down to 2 inches. The other things that yeah, I'm like, "I don't even
So
know if you're
much
coming back."
brown.
Yeah, so much brown. I brought this up a couple of weeks ago and you were surprised, but I actually took a video of myself doing it. You know how phlox paniculata, they bloom and then especially if it's a white flower, those little old petals are brown and they're kind of dringly over the top of
Oh.
the whole head of flowers. And if you just wipe them away, the plant looks so much better and it's not quite done blooming. Have you tried that yet? Because I told you about it and then I've been doing it and I think of you every time I do it. Have you given it a go?
I have not given it a go. I have to be fully honest with you. If before I do that, I really need to deadhead the 100 blossoms of the Shasta daisy in front of my Kapow pink right now, which is actually tomorrow's job in the morning, is getting on that. But no, I haven't done that yet.
I'm gonna put a video on our
Yeah, put
Instagram.
a little video on there because I'd love to see you do it. It was one of those that you're talking about. I'm thinking, well,
What?
aren't you just taking off the head and there's more flowers and why is
No, it's
this
some of those
amazing?
little blooms, and I'm not quite sure whether the actual little tiny blooms do twice or whether every other one comes, and so you just get rid of this brown stuff. Look for it on Instagram, listeners. It's a magical thing, a very tiny,
Okay.
tiny thing. Oh, I see that you put a note there that one of our listeners talked about annuals that can go a little bit aggressive, and Deb mentioned the Persicaria microcephala red dragon.
Yeah, I was asking listeners, what is the one for you? And Red Dragon is a really beautiful Persicaria, very red leaves with almost like a gray chevron in them, like gray red chevron. Do you grow it?
Well, once again, I used to, and I gave it to a good friend. We were having dinner the other night, and she said, "I'm really enjoying the Persicaria. Do you want some back?" And I said, "Well, yes, I do." So, Deb, am I gonna be sorry?
Well, I don't know. Deb thinks she will, but it was a question of it's one of those that's beautiful, but you've got to pull it out so it doesn't go over and through and under and take over a bed. And that's certainly true for a persicaria that I grow, which is just this is already a clear up corner in my head. It's Virginiana.
Oh,
Which
a
one
painter's
is
palette.
it?
Yeah, Virginiana.
Yes, painter's palette, which has just created a monoculture, but in one area, hellebores underneath it. Hellebores seem to do fine with it doing that. And honestly, I don't have the time or energy to do more with that. So it's fine the way it is, but it definitely would take over if it was in a bed. And
Yeah, even in my
I would need
tiny
to
new garden, it is making its presence known, and it is a great plant, and but I do want the red dragon. So, when you have a tiny garden like me, you're kinda looking forward to, like, "Ooh, what weeds will I pull today?"
but in your garden, you could keep on top of the red dragon with no
So
problem.
easily, yeah. It's an obnoxious thing to say, like,
That you're good at that, so
I am, so let me proceed. Ariana Grande may or may not have gotten in trouble because she said that she was so hardworking, and then some people weighed in on social media just saying like, "Hey, you don't work 3 jobs and one of them is at McDonald's, so get over yourself." I mean,
right. Right.
so
Are you following Ariana Grande now?
no, I read it in
It's a
some
whole new
stupid
so we have full coverage on Ariana Grande in the 2nd hour of this podcast.
everybody stay tuned.
Leslie will be taking us on. Yeah, stay tuned.
I would say that, it is a very obnoxious thing to say, "I have such a tiny garden that I don't mind editing." It's kinda where I am right now,
No, it's
sorry.
not. I mean, it's not. It's where you are right now. I'm on 10 acres, and negotiating that my ambition versus my resources. That's what I'm currently negotiating. For the majority of my adult life, I did not have any land. We didn't move here until I was, gosh, am I not 42 right now? I guess I'm not.
I
You
guess you're
know?
not. Damn, that was last week.
Damn, that was so. But you just get that one life. Um, so the majority of my life, I had tiny little gardens. Now, the interesting thing is having the big garden that I dreamed of having for so long. I find myself when I'm in a garden like yours thinking, oh, how manageable it is. How fun to just manicure and be manageable. But
Yeah.
then I still am in a place where I enjoy the space and the ability to play with, an idea if I want to play with
Mhm.
an idea. But because I don't have a staff running around taking care of these things for me, I know that I can't manage it, so I have to do it on a very tiny level for that whatever that idea is, because you gotta be able to manage it, otherwise it makes you go crazy.
And you
So,
want to enjoy your garden.
so no, I don't think it's out of touch. That's what your garden is, and you're allowed to feel happy
I am
about it.
not Ariana Grande. I am so
You are not.
sort of wish I was, but wouldn't
No,
that be
I
fun
don't
to
think you
sing like that?
do.
Oh, no, that's voice. She
I
can
think
sing.
you've been really following Ariana Grande. I mean, I couldn't actually even tell you that she sang. I thought she was an actress. Wasn't she in that Wicked movie?
Yeah, there's some singing involved in that, I believe.
See, I haven't seen it. I keep meaning to see it. I just haven't. And you know what? It was on Broadway. It was in London. I never saw
Marianne's
it.
been on her golf cart and doesn't realize that that's actually a
All
musical.
I've been doing is trying to get that wisteria under control.
Oh, I was just gonna go back to limbing up trees for one more thing. The beauty of it is important to keep an eye on, but if it's smacking you in the face, again, can I just confess to something? It's not a crime.
Oh, good.
Yeah, we have been wonderfully living at a beautiful house. When we go to Connecticut, we can't stay in our apartment because our our daughter and her husband, and they had a little chimney fire, and they were fine, but they've been out of their house smoke damage for all summer. And so when we go to Connecticut now, we go and stay at our very good friend's house. And there was a beautiful river birch that we were walking by after we parked our car in the back and walked to the front. And you just couldn't walk where you wanted to walk because you get smacked in the face with branches. And what did I do when they were out at the market one day? I found their secateurs and I took care of business. And I can walk where I want to walk now.
Now, does it look good? Did you do an
It
artful
looks
job of
so I
it?
did such an artful job. And what you do with a
Okay.
tree branch, I didn't get rid of any major limbs. I did it with secateurs. But you pull down and you take the heaviest, lowest branch, and and it's so satisfying. The rest of the
Right.
whole thing pops up higher than 5 feet, 10
And
inches
then
tall.
suddenly, yeah.
Yeah, and suddenly you can walk there. My husband gave me
I
a very hard time. I felt very good about it all.
No, you've done some you should actually just send your friend a bill for arborist work, which according to the area I live in is, at about $700 an hour, so go ahead
Make some good
and do
coin.
that. I will never forget standing in front of my electric box, in my last house, and which was a small garden, a reno project, everything, garden house, everything. The electrical guy who had come out to work on the box for some reason was sitting there talking to me about it. And I was very interested in electricity. So I was discussing something. And as he's talking to me, he's got a pair of secateurs in his hands and he clips one of my climbing rose canes that's growing around the box and up. And the rose was trained to the wall to make the electric box and these huge cables that my old house could not, that were ugly as hell, to try and make them look less ugly. And the effrontery of it, I just stood there like, "What the hell did you just did that in front of me?" Like, as he's talking to me, he goes and cuts the cane, like, one of the main canes. Anyway, I didn't lose my ever-loving shit. Oops, sorry. Explicit rating. I didn't, I was actually very nice, but I said, "You know what? If it's in the way, I can get it for you." It wasn't. He was just they want everything, like 4 feet away from that little box on the wall.
Yeah,
Anyway, moving on, I still have bitterness from it, but boy, that was stuck in my head forever.
I
Real
bet.
quick about the red dragon, I have it in my head that that cultivar is called blood wedding, and I don't know why. I know. And I saw it at Anne Wareham's, when I was in Wales, I think last year, and I looked at it and I'm like, "It's not blood wedding, Marianne. It's not blood wedding. It's something else. What is it?" And I said, finally, I go, "Anne, I can't remember what the hell this is. Is it, I think it's blood wedding. I know it's not." And she's like, "Blood wedding? Where on earth?" And now she says when she looks at it, she can only think of blood wedding. So I'm very sorry if I've just put it into everybody's head, but good. That little earworm is now in your head. Blood wedding.
And this is why we do this podcast.
This is why
All
I'm
right.
not hired by Proven Winners to name their new cultivars, by the way. For some reason, they didn't want me to do that. I don't understand.
I'm sitting here thinking about how I could slide a photo, some sort of visual in as I edit for YouTube, and I'm not sure I wanna do it.
No, there's nothing. A blood wedding. I don't know. You could put a poem there or something. I
Some
don't know. I don't
some
think you could
bloody
do it.
bride. I don't care. So a
I would
scene from
like our
Carrie.
listeners actually to come up with the worst cultivar names for a plant and send it into the chat, actually. Or send
Oh,
it to comments
yeah.
at thegardenmixer.com. We'll read them next time. I'm looking forward to them. Can you top blood wedding for a
But
red
blood wedding doesn't
dragon
exist.
Persicaria? I
You
know it
made it up.
doesn't. I'm just saying
Alright.
if you
I thought you meant
think
real.
like your worst cultivar name that could be. I mean, I did think it was a cultivar. It could have been. All
Alright,
right,
I'll have
shall
to
we
look it up.
move on?
I think we should. I think the conclusion here is that you want it to look good from yards and yards away. You want it to look good up close. You want to discover whether, oh my God, I almost lost this cute little plant because something else is taking over. Jurisprudence is an important part of gardening. So on your hands and knees, looking at little things, backing up, looking at big things, and don't be shy because you still have a lot of growing time in this season, right?
Yeah, you really do. And you want to enjoy all your plants, not just a whole lot of one plant, like that rudbeckia, which is trying to take over my perennial bed. And I thought I didn't have too much of it, but it turns out I really do have a lot of it. And I'm not going to have a lot of anything else if I don't get on top of that.
It's like, "Oh, I love that plant, but wait, where did the rest of the garden go?" Alright,
Uh,
speaking of the rest of the garden, at the end of this episode, we are gonna give you 2 specific plants in the section called "Damn, I wish I
yeah.
planted that for late August." But in the meantime, we just wanted to go over a few listener comments. I had a really cute one on our TikTok following, which is so fun because I
Oh,
just
no way.
yeah, and it was really cute.
Hello,
It was
TikTokers. Is there like a
well,
dance I
we
need
have
to
no idea
do?
what they're I don't even know if they're listening, but there are 200 people who are following the Garden Mixer on TikTok. Thank you, because I have no idea. I'm just shooting things over there. Somebody called Lily's Considered, which I think is a cute TikTok handle, had a look at the short on TikTok about you that I made about you having so many photographs of your plants, and dear sweet Emma, your daughter, saying, "There are no
So
photographs of
shameful.
me or dad or my brother." And her reply to this was, "The garden is always posing." I guess the inference is that maybe those other people aren't. I thought that was very clever.
That's a really clever way of thinking of it. Yeah, the
Yeah,
garden is always posing. There's always that moment, isn't there, where I try and get away from my phone a fair amount, and so I'll leave it up at the house specifically so I don't have it with me, and then
smart.
every single time I do that, I walk by, I turn my head and go, "Oh my gosh, look at that with that with that," and wish I had my phone.
Yeah.
It is always posing. That's a really good way to look at it. I think my family members would pose for me more.
And if you start posing, you'll get more action.
Start looking good with a pinky winky hydrangea, Emma, and then we'll talk.
We'll talk.
Okay.
What else?
And Kenneth Ellison sent us a DM in our Instagram, the Garden Mixer, with a pic of his beautiful castor bean. And this is
Oh,
made my heart happy because the message that said the caption said, "Be not afraid," said Marianne, and now these lovelies are close to 5 feet tall.
that's
Yay,
great. That's
yay.
great.
That is so
Yes.
great. So he's talking about don't be afraid of the poisonous nature of a castor bean. Just be smart and enjoy the hell out of that beautiful plant because it is beautiful for the price of one seed. Great, Kenneth. I'm glad you're enjoying them. And make sure you save some of those seeds for next year because those are actually going up in price. So definitely
Yeah,
save some of your seed.
yeah. A reminder to all of my listeners, all of my listeners,
All of your listeners, huh?
used to be my podcast, and now I'm sharing it.
Wow.
I know, that's really aggressive. To check into us on YouTube, we're looking for some more followers there because we'd love to connect with you there. We are actually putting a bunch of if you have a new gardener that you know of, there is a new playlist, I guess they call it, as I'm learning how to do YouTube, called The Very First Sip. And it deals with really basic questions that a new gardener might have, such as what's the difference between compost and mulch? And why do my tomatoes have funny butts? That is Boston end rot. Uh, really simple. And these are 2, 3 minutes. And the best part about them is that Badger the puppy is always the one asking the question. It's a little scary because I'm the one always answering the question.
It's a blatant puppy placement,
It
but
is.
he is
He's
pretty
so
damn cute, I
cute.
have to say.
Yeah.
And I mean, if he had opposable thumbs, he would be asking these questions for himself. But these are based on questions that we hear from people, and we forget how basic your knowledge is in anything.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's just the stuff that we know. In fact, it would be kind of fun to say the 3 topics that we're gonna record them at the end of the session, that you'll find these on YouTube in the coming weeks. Can you reuse potting soil? That's a great question. Can I compost everything? Do I need to deadhead my annuals in my containers? And so, Badger the puppy is the cutest way to get more garden information on YouTube.
he's my little Jack Russell. He
Mhm.
is currently ratting in the barn right now, I believe, because
Oh.
we've had some chicken massacres lately, Leslie,
Oh, I'm
and,
sorry.
yeah, and it's made us more aware of well, the rats aren't doing any chicken massacring, the raccoons are. It's made us put a cam up there to see what's going on because I mean, every once in a while, when you have chickens, you end up with a massacre every once in a while. It's not
There will be
often.
blood. There will be
There
blood.
will be blood. There is a blood wedding going on in the barn, and there was this time, and so it made me realize I have one little rat that is coming in, which is great because usually you don't just have one little rat; you have many little rats. But luckily, I have terriers, so they Badger is underneath the barn as quickly as he can be every single day. First thing he does, run down there, get into those tunnels that the groundhogs dug years ago, and that Mungo emptied of groundhogs looking for rats. So it's fun to watch working dogs work. I have to say, he just needs
Yeah.
to work harder at the bunnies. Let me tell you.
Oh, and another plug for another recording that we're making. We mentioned One More Sip that you can access on Substack, One More Sip of the Garden Mixer. And just to tell you what our next episode will be about that we're recording after this will be about bees because Marianne used to be a beekeeper and I wasn't. So I have lots of questions for her. She will be answering the questions in that one.
I will
What else?
be answering the questions. Yes, I am.
What's the buzz,
I don't like
baby?
to think of myself as an ex beekeeper because I don't want to give up on that dream. But we're just having a little bit of trouble with it right now. So, but I have been keeping bees for a long time.
Points of order before we go into "Damn, I wish I planted that."
I don't think I ever asked you what you were drinking. Did you? What are you
Yeah, it's a gin
drinking?
and tonic. It's Hendrick's. It's Hendrick's.
Oh, oh,
I didn't have a fresh lime, but I have fresh lime juice, and I just do. So, it's very good. And you?
I really enjoy, yeah, gin and tonic that, Hendrick's and tonic. Hendrick's has gotta be my favorite gin. I have some decoy gin for people who come over who are not really gin inclined that they get in their drink if they don't like it. They have to go searching for the Hendrick's in the back of the drinks
A quick
cabinet.
a quick point on cocktails, when you were here last week and Jeff was making you a drink, we do a dash of bitters in our G&T, and we offered that to you, and you wrinkled your nose rather quickly. No, none of
You know,
that.
and I regret that, because I should be more open to changes in my gin and tonic. There was a period of time that I did elderflower cordial, little tiny bit in my gin and tonic, but I really did come down to the fact that I love Hendrick's and tonic, double lime. I don't even need the slice of cucumber. You can put it in if you're feeling like you got it. But I love that so much that I don't feel the need to change it too much. But I will say that the gin and tonic you gave me was fantastic, so maybe he stuck it in there and I didn't know it.
No, he did not, but I will give you a sip of mine next time we're together.
All right.
Alright, damn, I wish I planted that. You have a good one. Do you wanna go first?
I will. I will. Damn, I wish I planted that is 2 plants, one Leslie, one me, that we we're probably growing and that you may see in a garden and think at this time of year, "Oh, I wish I'd planted that." And so you put it on the master list. And then the next sort of planting season, which for us is probably going to be September here, maybe the rains will get started and make things easier. Then that's when you go down and get that plant or get it ordered and get going so that you have something at this time of year. That's how we get ideas. So we've got a couple. Mine is the rice paper plant this week,
Love that
Tetrapanax
plant.
papyrifer. And I had told Leslie that I was going to look for a native in my garden and use a native because we've been going heavy Asian lately.
Oop.
And you know what? There are a few. There's a eupatorium, and there's a lot of stuff that's going. But I just kept walking past this tetrapanax and thinking, this is just such a great foliage plant. And at the end of August, the garden is feeling a little tired. For me, the tropicals really push a lot of energy into the garden, but Tetra panax is a plant that I don't have to dig up and 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 I can use. It looks very tropical, it's very strong. It's a palmate leaf, it's green with almost a golden underside, and it has very hairy leaves, hairy stems, can get very tall depending on the cultivar. I think steroidal giant can get up to about 12 feet tall if you let it. It
Oof.
will flower if you are in the right zone. So the zone hardiness on this plant is going to disappoint some of you because it really is zone 6B to I think 10. What do I have? 11. It is root hardy in that 6B, 7A, 7B. And if you're in 8A, you will have it flower for you. Those stems won't die down to the ground. I use it as a foliage plant. It dies down to the ground every year and then it comes back up, and I never have flowers on it. I have wrapped the stems before and put leaves down in a sort of a cage around it. But I only did that halfway because I got distracted with something else that fall, and I ended up keeping it living up to that point, and then it just sent another stem up from that point, which didn't flower. So I got to do better on that. Do better, be better, Marianne.
I have questions.
Oh yes. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, questions, Miss Harris. You in the
Question.
back?
Because it's a hairy stem, do deer leave it alone?
Yeah, deer don't touch this bad boy. So that's one of the great things about it. But the hairy stems have a caveat. They have a health and safety warning.
Uh-oh.
Those hairs will you can brush them off with your finger when you grab a stem, and they disperse into the air, and if you breathe them in, they can really cause you to start coughing for the next 3 hours, and, if
Oh.
somebody has lung issues, it would be a problem. So, whenever I'm working with tetrapanics, I usually put a mask on,
Oh, wow.
just extra safety.
We all have them in our homes. Thank you, pandemic.
We do, yeah. Thank you, COVID. And or what I'll do is, like, get myself jazzed up, take a deep breath, go in, cut what I need to cut, take it out, and throw it down, and then just stand there, and then I'll go and do it again if I don't have a mask with me. You want to cut it down to the ground if it's going to die to the ground, because I have a really, really great gardener friend down in Rehoboth, John Boggin, who he cut them to about 2 feet, and they were so rigid that he fell backwards in his garden and he impaled his leg with one of those. So I'm giving you all these terrible things about tetrapanics, but it really is such a great plant. It does sucker a lot. It
Okay.
suckers a lot. Here's the key with that. Make sure you get those suckers up when they're small. As soon as they're small, and they're like nothing, it's not like it covers everything with suckers. It's just one comes up here, one comes up there, and you pull them up, and it's the work of a second.
So you can pull, you don't have to dig
You don't have to dig the suckers, no, but you will if they start to put
if you
down their own
yeah.
roots, and yeah, within a year or so, and then you'll have a clump.
Okay. Another question.
Yes, Miss Harris.
Frost will knock down those leaves, and I can't imagine that that wouldn't be sort of a significant issue in terms of mulch. Do you just leave them in place, or do you have to carry them away because they're so big and so formidable?
They get a little bit ugly, once the freezes come in, because they can actually, that growing point it's very cool looking, and it can sorta handle a fair amount of frost. But the leaves are on these very long petioles. I'm showing them for the camera here. And and those will just sort of fall down to the stem. And so it becomes a bit of a liability, and you want to debrown the garden. And so that's when I'll get my pruning saw, my little silky boy. What was it? Pocket boy. My silky
Pocket
pocket
boy,
boy.
silky saw.
Only boy I ever have in my pocket. And I cut it down low to the ground. I don't do extra mulch unless there's mulch available and it's there, but I'm in 6B, 7A. I wonder if you could push this plant a little bit into 6A. It's
Yeah,
possible.
yeah.
It's possible, like a musabasju. Because if you look on, I think on NC State Extension, which is another place that we get a lot of plant information from because it's so well laid out, you'll see that it says it's only hardy to 8, and that's not true. It's definitely hardy for me, and I'm 6B, 7A.
Okay.
So there you
We're
go. It's a beautiful foliage plant, very, very strong. Just keep an eye on those suckers and pull them out when you see them, and it's pretty nice, behind, like, a limelight or something that's white and gorgeous, and it just looks very cool.
I bet it's beautiful. I can't wait to see the photographs on YouTube. And my plant is a hydrangea, and it seems crazy to be talking about hydrangea in mid to late August when you're hearing this, but this one is a very late bloomer, and it's a serrata, so that means it's sort of like a macrophylla, but it's a mountain hydrangea. It's similar to a macrophylla in that it blooms on old wood, so you don't want to go pruning that bad boy in the winter. It also is kind of small, kind of compact. Macrophyllas are generally bigger. They generally have wider leaves, but a serrata is a cool little plant. This bluebird cultivar, it actually got the award of garden merit by the Royal Horticultural Society.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and I can
I
believe
need
it.
to
And
read the notes.
it was it was recommended to me by my friend Abby, who took over my business 4 years ago, and she had discovered it and planted it in a few gardens, and she said, "Hey, we're making an order from Colesville Nursery near Richmond," is where I was doing most of my business, and she continues to use them a lot. It's a great nursery, and she said, "They stock this bluebird hydrangea serrata, and you need one." And I'm like, "Okay." And so I took some photographs of it that you'll see on YouTube, and because I took them in very early days of August, it's still in bud, and the bud is so cool. It's like a peony. It's full of promise. It's a beautiful little bud, and then it won't even bloom for a couple more weeks. It's a real true blue unless you have more alkaline soil. In which case you might get pink. I get blue, which I'm very happy about. So hydrangea serrata, bluebird, it it's a good one. I recommend it highly.
And you just put it in?
So I put it in almost as soon as I moved here, so that would be coming up on 2 years ago.
Okay, and you don't have deer in your garden, right? You don't have deer coming down eating?
No,
Okay,
because yeah, I have bunnies and they're not touching that, so that's good.
okay. The deer have taken the edge off of my bluebird. For me,
Oh.
I have 2 of them. One, it's very interesting how soil, it can be so different, so close, very close to one another. I had one on one side, 15 feet away. I had another, one was pink, one was blue
Oh,
because of
cool.
the soil. Yeah, and now that you've told me it won an AGM, I've suddenly got new respect for it. One of I really like this hydrangea. I have to say I really like this hydrangea. It is very beautiful, but the one that I had planted back behind the other, the deer get to and they just destroy, and I've just gotten like, "Oh, whatever. I don't even care anymore, eat it." But now you've told me it's an AGM plant, it is as good as I thought it was. I think maybe I'll dig that up and go put it in the protected vegetable garden area and
Yeah,
maybe just enjoy it again there because it is a
yeah.
pretty plant. How snobby is that? Now that it had an AGM, well, now I like it again.
That's so you.
Just gotta decide what to save, folks. It's a lot of deer. It's a lot of property.
I bet. All right, y'all. I think we've done it. And thank you again for listening. Follow us on wherever you want to follow us. We'd love to be followed. We are very excited to have you as listeners, and thank you for being there. And we'll see you next time.
See you next time, folks.